The microfiber cloth glided over the imported Italian marble surfaces for the third time, seeking a clinically absolute shine. Maya Torres adjusted the white knight that had tipped over, placing it back into its correct position on the center of the square with a delicate, reverent touch, and took a calculated step back. The decorative chessboard, an exquisite piece of craftsmanship, now gleamed intensely under the cold, harsh light of the executive office chandeliers. The heavy oak door swung open without any warning, shattering the muffled silence of the room. Julian Thorne entered first, laughing too loud, a theatrical and forced sound, followed closely by two men in impeccable, custom-tailored suits. She recognized the type immediately. High-profile clients, the kind of sharks he desperately needed to impress to close the quarter. Maya grabbed her bucket of cleaning supplies with discretion and turned to slip out through the service door, trying to make herself invisible. "Hold on a second!" His voice stopped her dead in her tracks, freezing the air in the room. Julian pointed at the chessboard with a dismissive, nonchalant wave of his hand. "Do you know how to play that? Or do you just know how to push a mop?" The two men exchanged awkward glances, assessing the situation with palpable discomfort. One of them, the older gentleman sporting a groomed grey beard and a distinguished air, furrowed his brow with a mix of curiosity and disapproval. Maya kept her expression perfectly neutral, an impenetrable mask of professionalism. "I know how to play, sir." "Really?" Julian grinned widely, crossing his arms over his chest with an air of arrogant challenge. "Then let's make a deal. Play a game with me. A quick one. It'll be amusing." The tone of his voice was crystal clear. This was a cruel joke, a little power play to entertain his guests. The cleaning lady playing chess against the CEO in a Manhattan penthouse office. A modern farce. She looked at the board. Then she looked at him, holding his gaze for a second too long. "All right." Julian laughed again, incredulous, and pulled out his leather Eames chair. "Mr. Sterling, you're going to love this." Maya pulled out the other chair and sat down in absolute silence. Her hands, which still smelled faintly of industrial disinfectant, rested gently on the edge of the mahogany table. He made the first move without even looking properly at the board, with total arrogance. Julian pushed the center pawn 2 squares forward. Classic. Totally predictable. You know the basic rules, right? The pawn walks like this. The rook goes straight. Maya moved the king's pawn, mirroring his opening with millimeter precision. Her hands didn't tremble, not even a little. Robert Sterling, the man with the grey beard, pulled up a chair and sat next to them, suddenly intrigued by the turn of events. The other guest remained standing, arms crossed, watching the scene with a smirk, amused by the spectacle. Julian advanced his knight, banging the piece against the wood. "This piece here is tricky. It jumps over the others. You have to be very careful with it, sweetheart." She didn't respond to the condescension. She moved her own knight, a symmetrical development, a solid and academic positioning. "Look at that. She's copying me." Julian looked at Sterling, seeking complicity. Beginner's strategy, copying the opponent's moves so they don't get lost. Sterling said nothing. His eyes were locked on the board, analyzing every nuance. Julian played fast, overflowing with confidence. Bishop on the diagonal, threatening the flank with premature aggression. Maya responded with the other knight, protecting the center. He chuckled softly, shaking his head, savoring his own imaginary superiority. "See? She doesn't even realize I'm setting up a lethal attack." 3 moves later, Maya castled. A calm, technical move, tucking her king into safety behind a fortress of pawns. Julian frowned for a fraction of a second, but quickly masked his surprise. "Ah, you know how to castle. You're not so clueless after all." She finally raised her eyes to him, just for an instant. Then her eyes returned to the varnished wood. Sterling leaned forward, invading the personal space of the game. "Julian, are you seeing her pawn structure? I see she's defending herself as best she can." Julian pushed his queen toward the center with a broad, theatrical gesture. "But defense doesn't win games." Maya moved her bishop, a long diagonal, slicing through the board and pressuring his flank. The rhythm in the room changed imperceptibly. Julian stopped talking for a few seconds, bewildered. He analyzed the board, rubbed his chin. He moved the rook, repositioning a hasty defense. Maya responded with a pawn push, opening up deadly space for her other bishop. "She's playing an Italian game," murmured Sterling, almost to himself. Julian looked at him sideways, annoyed. "A what?" "The structure. It's a textbook Italian opening. Classic. Beginner's luck." Julian forced a laugh that sounded hollow. Anyone can memorize a couple of moves. But he took much longer for his next move. Maya waited, hands crossed patiently in her lap. The office was plunged into silence. Only the low hum of the central air conditioning could be heard. He moved the knight, trying to pressure the center she controlled. Maya exchanged pieces, knight for knight. Clean, calculated, surgical. The position opened up. Sterling whistled softly, impressed. She just simplified the center and drastically improved the position of her rooks. The other guest, who until now had only observed with disdain, stepped forward, intrigued. "Seriously? Look there. Rook on the open file. The other one connected. She has total control of the board." Julian cleared his throat, visibly uncomfortable. "It's nothing special, just a little organization." But the tone of his voice had changed. There was no more mockery. He looked at the board with much more attention now. He mentally counted the pieces. He studied the diagonals with concern. Maya moved the queen, not to attack directly, but to occupy a dangerous diagonal, limiting all of his movement options. Julian felt the weight of the move. He had less space now, fewer options. He tried to advance a pawn on the flank, seeking to create a desperate lateral threat. Maya ignored it. She moved the bishop back, reinforcing her impregnable center. "She's playing positionally," said Sterling, fascinated. "What does that mean?" the other guest asked, confused. "It means she's not trying to attack blindly. She's suffocating him, taking away the air, controlling the important squares until he can't move." Julian looked at Sterling with irritation. "You're exaggerating, Robert." "Am I? Count how many safe squares your pieces have." Julian didn't count. He knew the answer. He moved the rook, trying to create pressure on the column. Maya pushed a pawn, hermetically sealing the position. Julian's pieces were left cramped, claustrophobic. He started to sweat. Not much, just a light sheen on his forehead. "How long have you been playing?" Sterling asked Maya, his voice calm and respectful. She didn't take her eyes off the board for a second. "For a while." Julian forced another nervous laugh. "She must play online. These apps teach anyone nowadays." But his hand trembled slightly as he moved the next piece. A small error, almost imperceptible. He advanced the bishop without protecting his rear. Maya saw it instantly. She moved the rook, occupying the 7th rank with authority. Sterling took a deep breath. "That's dangerous." "What's dangerous?" Julian tried to keep a light tone, failing miserably. "The rook on the 7th. She's attacking the base pawns. You're going to have to waste turns defending." Julian looked at the board, then at Maya. She continued with the same expression, calm, empty, as if she were cleaning one more table. He moved the king, fleeing the imminent pressure. Maya brought the other rook. Now the two dominated the most important lines like absolute mistresses of the board. "My God," murmured the other guest. Julian felt his chest tighten. He tried to create a threat. He moved the queen to attack an isolated pawn. Maya defended with insulting simplicity. One move, total block. Sterling leaned back in his chair, amazed. "She's playing like a master." "Don't exaggerate." Julian wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. "I'm not exaggerating, man. Look at the economy of her movements. Every piece she plays does two things at the same time." Julian remained silent. He was losing, not in a brusque or violent way, but in a slow way. Technical, inevitable. Maya moved the knight. She occupied a dominant central square. All her pieces were now working together, coordinated, harmonic, a symphony. He tried a last desperate attack. He advanced the queen, threatening her king. Maya blocked with the bishop without blinking. Then she forced the exchange of queens. Julian had no choice. He had to accept the trade. The endgame became purely technical. Rooks and pawns. She had an overwhelming positional advantage. Sterling crossed his arms. It's over. It's not over yet. Julian moved the rook, but his voice came out thin, broken. Julian, she has 2 protected passed pawns and total control of the open files. It's over. Maya said nothing. She simply pushed the pawn, 1 square closer to promotion. Julian looked at the board, then he looked at her. His eyes finally registered something different. It wasn't amusement anymore. It was confusion and the beginning of genuine fear. Maya looked at the advanced pawn. 3 squares were missing for promotion, 3 squares that seemed like miles. She knew that distance intimately. She knew the gravitational weight of every movement. 6 years ago, she had another name, another life. Not Maya Torres, the janitor on the 12th floor, but Maya Torres, national chess master, regional champion twice in a row, teacher at an academy with a waiting list. Her classroom had 17 boards, 17 pairs of attentive, bright eyes. She walked between the tables, hands behind her back, analyzing every position. Chess does not forgive haste, she would tell them gently. Every move tells a story. You have to read the opponent's story before writing your own. The kids loved her. The parents paid well. She gave private lessons on weekends. She participated in tournaments. Not the big international ones, not yet, but the regionals, the state opens. She won. She brought trophies home. David was always waiting for her with Lily in his arms. How did it go? He smiled, that crooked smile that made her forget all the tiredness in the world. He played too. He didn't compete anymore, but he loved the game. Every night after Lily fell asleep, they set up the board on the kitchen table. Sicilian defense? He would ask, challenging. King's Indian, she would reply. And they played in comfortable silence, just the sound of wooden pieces striking the board, just the slight creak of the chair when one of them shifted position. Lily grew up using chess pieces as toys. By 4, she already knew how to move all of them correctly. By 5, David started teaching her basic openings. She has natural talent, he said with pride. Look how she thinks 3 moves ahead. Maya saw Lily building towers of pawns in the living room. She saw David explaining the knight fork with infinite patience. She saw the life they had built, brick by brick, stable, safe, happy. Then came the accident. A truck running a red light. A treacherous intersection in Queens. David was coming back from a tournament where he had been the head arbiter. Instant death. The police officer's words seemed to come from another language, incomprehensible. She held Lily, who was crying without really understanding what was happening. The world had turned upside down in a single crash of twisted metal. The insurance covered almost nothing, the fine print, the car payments, the exorbitant funeral costs. The academy where she worked closed 3 months later. Economic downturn, budget cuts. You understand, Maya? We just don't have the demand for so many teachers anymore. She looked at other academies. The market was saturated. Nobody was hiring. We'll call you. They never called. Tournaments required entry fees, travel, hotels. She didn't have any of that anymore. Savings melted away in 6 months. The NYC rent devoured what was left. Lily needed to eat. She needed school clothes. She needed notebooks. She needed medicine when she got a fever. The American healthcare system was unforgiving. Maya accepted the first job that came up. Commercial cleaning, shift from 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Second shift from 6 to 10 at night in another building. 2 jobs to pay a miserable rent and keep a daughter alive. She learned to handle corrosive chemicals. She learned to get coffee stains out of overpriced carpets. She learned to clean immaculate executive restrooms. She learned to be invisible. People walked past her in the hallways without looking at her. She was part of the structure, like the wall, like the door. Employees complained about the smell of bleach. She apologized and cleaned again. No one knew who she had been. No one bothered to ask. She packed the trophies into sealed cardboard boxes. She didn't have the courage to throw them away. She didn't have the courage to look at them. The medals stayed at the bottom of the closet, buried under old clothes. The home chessboard was covered in dust. She didn't play anymore. She didn't have the time. She didn't have the headspace. Playing chess was remembering David explaining Indian defenses. It was remembering the classroom full of light. It was remembering the woman she had been. But Lily asked, "Mom, aren't you going to play anymore?" And Maya couldn't say no to those eyes. So some nights, when the extreme exhaustion allowed, she pulled out the board. She taught her daughter. The knight always jumps in an L shape. Always. Lily absorbed everything like a sponge. Fast, smart, just like her father. "You were good at this, right?" Lily asked once. Maya stroked the girl's hair. "I was." "Why did you stop?" "Life changed, honey. But you still know how to play, don't you?" "Yes, I still know." And she did know. Even without training, even without competing, even without touching a theory book for years, chess was etched into her DNA, every opening, every tactical pattern, every technical endgame. It wasn't something you forgot. It was something you carried within, like a scar, like deep muscle memory. When Julian challenged her that afternoon, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't anger, it wasn't indignation, it was recognition. The board in front of her was a mirror, and for the first time in 6 years, she saw who she really was. Not the janitor cleaning other people's offices, not the exhausted mother working 2 shifts, but Maya Torres, national master, the one who had never lost due to lack of preparation, the one who read the opponent 3 moves before he even moved a finger. She turned her gaze back to Julian. He didn't know yet who he was playing with, but he was about to find out. Maya held the piece between her index finger and thumb. The movement was precise, elegant. No dragging it across the board, no hesitation. She lifted the rook, placed it on the exact square, and released it. Her fingers didn't tremble. Sterling saw it. He had played chess all his life, amateur but serious, and he instantly recognized when someone had real elite training, the way she held the pieces, the economy of movement, the reflection time before touching anything. "Do you play in tournaments?" he asked, genuinely curious. Maya didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were still on the board, calculating 3 different variants of the position. "I used to." "When?" "A long time ago." Julian cleared his throat, impatient. "Are you going to play or are you going to chat?" He moved the bishop, attacking Maya's flank, an aggressive but hasty move. Maya saw the error instantly. He had left his king exposed. Not much, just enough. She didn't attack directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, she moved the knight to a seemingly harmless square. But that piece now controlled 2 critical squares. It limited his queen's mobility. It closed the king's escape route. Sterling leaned in even closer, fascinated. "That is preparation." "What?" asked the other guest. "She's not attacking, she's preparing the ground, building the net before tightening the knot." Julian looked at Sterling with disdain. "You're reading too much into it, Robert." "Am I? Look at her pawn structure, Maroczy bind. That's not luck, that is advanced technical knowledge." "Maroczy what?" Julian laughed, but the sound came out fake, nervous. "Maroczy. It's a classic central control formation, used at high levels." Sterling stared at Maya. "Where did you learn that?" She finally took her eyes off the board. She looked at Sterling, not Julian. "At the academy." "Which academy?" Maya took a deep breath, holding back her emotion. "Torres Chess Center." Sterling frowned, searching his memory. "Torres? Torres?" He snapped his fingers. "David Torres? The international arbiter?" Something changed on Maya's face. Just for a second. A small twitch at the corner of her mouth. "He was my husband." Silence fell heavily on the room, dense. Sterling opened his mouth, closed it. Then he said more quietly, "Was. He died 6 years ago." Julian adjusted his shirt collar, uncomfortable. Okay, very touching, but are we going to finish this or not? Sterling ignored him completely. David Torres was one of the best arbiters in the state. He coached players too. You coached with him? We taught together. At the Torres Academy. Yes. So you... Sterling stopped. He looked at the board. He looked at her. Maya Torres, national master, two-time regional champion. She didn't confirm. She didn't deny. She barely moved the next piece with coldness. The other guest took a step back, stunned. Wait, is she a professional player? I was, said Maya, her voice barely audible. Julian turned red with anger. This is ridiculous. If you're so good, why are you working cleaning my floors? The question cut the air like a razor blade. Sterling turned to him with a hard expression, but it was Maya who answered, because being a national master doesn't pay the rent in New York. Julian opened his mouth to reply. Nothing came out. She continued, eyes back on the board. It doesn't pay for school supplies. It doesn't pay the electric bill. It doesn't pay for food. I had a daughter to raise, alone. So I did what I had to do. Her voice was calm. No self-pity. No anger. It was simply a fact. Pure. Direct. The naked reality. Sterling leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, looked at Julian with an expression that said everything without words. Julian cleared his throat. Well, that changes nothing. We're playing. Yes, said Maya. We're playing. She moved the rook. She occupied the open file. The piece slid on the board with a dry sound. Definitive. Julian looked at the position. He counted mentally. 5 of her pieces perfectly coordinated. 3 of his poorly positioned and useless. He had less material. Less space, less time. What's your rating? Asked Sterling. I was 2247 when I stopped competing. Sterling whistled, impressed. Fide Master? National Master. I had 3 Fide Master norms, but I never closed the full score. Still, you were on the path. Julian pushed his chair back, looking for an exit. Look, this is very amusing, but I have a meeting shortly. Finish the game, said Sterling. It wasn't a request. It was an order. Julian looked at him. Sterling was an investor, his main client. 20% of the firm's revenue came from funds managed by him. Sure. Julian pulled the chair back to the table. Sure, I'll finish. But it was obvious he didn't want to play anymore. He moved the queen, trying to create an empty threat on the opposite side. Maya defended with a pawn, a single pawn. Total block. She's playing prophylaxis, murmured Sterling. She's neutralizing his ideas before they even happen. Julian breathed deeply, irritated. Are you going to commentate the whole game? I'm just appreciating. It's been a long time since I've seen someone play with such class. Maya brought the other rook into the game. Now the two were connected, controlling the central files, ready for the invasion. Julian felt the noose tightening around his neck. He tried a desperate attack. He sacrificed a pawn to open a line toward her king. Maya simply stepped her king back. Safety first. She didn't fall for the provocation. She has impressive coolness, commented Sterling. She doesn't panic. She doesn't take risks. Pure technical play. The other guest pulled up a chair and sat down too, captivated. I don't understand much about chess, but even I see she's dominating him. Julian clenched his teeth. He moved the knight, trying to create complexity where there was none. Maya exchanged, simplified. Every trade favored her. The position became clearer, more inevitable. He was down 2 pawns now, and she had the bishop pair. In an open position, bishops were devastating. What's your rating, Julian? Asked Sterling. I never measured myself. Guess. I don't know. 1600? 1700? She is 500 points above you. In chess, that's a difference of category. It's like a college kid playing against an NBA pro. Julian didn't answer. His moves were slower now. He thought more, breathed heavier. His forehead glistened with cold sweat. Maya kept the same expression, neutral, focused. But something had changed in her posture, her shoulders. She wasn't hunched anymore, she was upright, like she used to be when she taught classes, when she competed, when she was who she really was. "Do you still teach?" asked Sterling. "No." "Why not?" "I don't have time, I work 2 shifts." 2 shifts. Sterling repeated the words as if testing their bitter weight. "Cleaning?" "Yes." He remained silent for a moment, processing the injustice. Then he said, "That is a criminal waste." Maya moved the bishop, long diagonal, cutting the board in half. "It's survival." Julian looked at the board. He looked at her. Then he looked at Sterling. "Look, I think that—" "Finish the game," said Sterling again, implacable. Julian swallowed hard. He moved the rook. Last resort. Last pathetic attempt to create a threat. Maya advanced the passed pawn. 2 squares to promotion now. The end was near, and everyone in the room knew it. The pawn advanced 1 more square. Only 1 square was missing, 1 move. Maya looked at that pawn and saw something else. She saw the academy classroom, 17 boards, 17 kids of different ages. She walked between the tables, hands behind her back, observing every position with a clinical eye. "Lucas, did you see the threat on the H file?" The 8-year-old boy frowned. He stared at the board. He counted. He thought. Then he saw it. "The bishop." "That's right. Always look for open diagonals. They are dangerous." She moved to the next table. She corrected a girl's posture. "Sit up straight. Chest demands concentration. Concentration demands posture." The girl straightened her spine. She focused again. David entered the classroom with coffee. He placed it on Maya's desk. He smiled. "Tough group today." "They always are. That's why you're good at this." Julian moved the rook, trying to block the pawn's path. Maya brought the bishop. She forced the trade. The rook got out of the way. The move took her mentally elsewhere. State tournament 5 years ago. She was in the 3rd round, playing against a candidate master, man in his 40s. Serious expression, confident. She was playing black, theoretical disadvantage. But she knew the Nimzo Indian defense better than the back of her hand, every trap, every tactical resource. He tried to press in the center. She counterattacked on the queen side with ferocity. David was in the audience. He was always there. He didn't advise her during the game. He didn't signal. He just watched with pride, and when she won, he waited for her at the exit with Lily in his arms. "How was it?" "I won." "I know. I saw the endgame." "What did you think?" "I think he never stood a chance." Sterling tapped his fingers on the table, bringing her back to the present. "Have you ever given a simultaneous exhibition?" Maya blinked, snapping out of her memories. "What?" "A simul. Playing against multiple opponents at the same time." "Yes, several times." "What was your max?" 23 boards. Julian looked at her, stunned. "You played against 23 people at the same time?" "Yes." "How many did you win?" 21. 2 draws. The other guest exhaled loudly. How is that possible?" Sterling smiled. "Patterns. When you play at her level, you recognize patterns. You don't need to calculate everything. You've already seen that position 1,000 times." Maya moved the knight. It jumped to a square that seemed strange, irrelevant, but Sterling saw the lethal intention. "She's closing off the last escape route." The simul had been at a city club, charity event. She walked between the boards, making rapid moves, 2 seconds, 3 at most. Each person had minutes to think. She had seconds, and yet she won. A 12-year-old girl had managed to get a draw. Maya remembered her. Shy girl, tied-back hair, big glasses, but she played with courage. She wasn't afraid to sacrifice pieces. She wasn't afraid to complicate the game. "You play very well," Maya had told her afterward. The girl had blushed. "You are my inspiration. Keep playing. You have a future." Julian interrupted the memory with his incredulous voice. "How much time did you dedicate to this? To chess?" "Dedicate?" "Training, studying, those things." Maya thought for a moment. 4 hours a day. Sometimes more. 4 hours every day. High-level chess demands that. New openings, studying grandmaster games, solving tactical problems, analyzing your own losses. And you did all that while teaching? Yes. And taking care of your daughter? David helped. We shared everything. Julian remained silent. He moved a piece without thinking clearly. Maya punished him immediately. She captured a key pawn. She opened more lines for her killer rooks. She saw herself in the house kitchen. Lily in the high chair, 3 years old. Maya was preparing a bottle with one hand and studying a Sicilian variation with the other. Book open on the table. Chess diagrams covering the surface. "Can we do this later?" David asked. "I have a tournament Saturday." "I know, but Lily needs to sleep. Just 10 more minutes." He smiled, resigned. He picked up Lily. "Come on, little one. Mommy needs to train to win another trophy." Lily reached her arms out to Maya. "Mommy, I'm coming, sweetie. Daddy will tuck you in first." But she didn't go. She stayed another half-hour studying, obsessed with perfection. When she went up, Lily was already asleep. David was reading in the bedroom. He looked up. "Finished? For today? Is it worth it?" "What?" "All this. The effort." Maya took off her shoes. She sat on the bed. "Do you think it's not worth it?" "I didn't say that. I just asked if you feel it's worth it." "When I win, yes, it's worth it." Sterling leaned toward her. "Do you miss it, competing?" Maya didn't answer immediately. She looked at the board. She looked at the pieces moving under her command. She looked at the game happening, alive. "Every day. Why don't you come back?" "I already told you. I don't have time." "You could give lessons. Make better money than as a cleaner." "Giving lessons requires structure, an academy, advertising, initial investment. I have none of that." "What if you did?" Maya stared at him, skeptical. "I don't." Julian cleared his throat loudly. "Look, this is very touching, but can we wrap this up?" She turned her eyes to him, to the man who had challenged her as a cruel joke, the man who was sweating now, who was short of breath, who moved the pieces with trembling hands. Maya advanced the pawn, last square before promotion. The most recent memory came back, 2 weeks ago. Small apartment in the Bronx. Lily at the kitchen table doing math homework. Maya arriving from her second shift, 10 at night. Exhausted to the bone. "Mom, can you help me?" "With what?" "Math. I don't understand this problem." Maya looked. A simple equation. She explained it in 3 minutes. Lily understood immediately. "You're good at everything, aren't you?" "Not everything." "Almost everything." Lily closed the notebook. "Mom, can we play?" "Now?" "Just a quick game." Maya looked at the clock. She looked at her daughter. Lily's eyes shone, hopeful. "Okay, 1 game." They set up the board on the same table. Cheap plastic pieces, some cracked. The white knight had its head glued back on, but they worked. Lily played white. She started with king's pawn. Maya responded with the Sicilian, her favorite defense. Lily frowned. "You always play that one, because it works." "But I know it." "Then prove to me you know it," Lily thought. She moved the knight, then the bishop. She was following the theoretical main line. Maya was impressed. "Did you study this?" "I saw it on YouTube." "Which channel?" "Gotham Chess." Maya smiled, the first real smile of her day. "Good channel." They played for 20 minutes. Lily defended well. She committed only 2 errors. Maya won, but she had to work for it. "You're improving," said Maya. "Seriously? Seriously, you think before moving? That's the most important thing." Lily put the pieces back in the box. "Mom, were you famous?" "In chess?" "Not famous. But I was known." "Did you make money with it?" "Not much. But I made some." "No, why did you stop?" Maya stroked her daughter's hair. "I already explained to you." "I know, but don't you miss it?" "I miss it." "Then why don't you go back?" "Because you need food, school, clothes, a present mother." Lily remained silent for a moment. Then she said, very quietly, "I would prefer to have you happy." The words hit Maya right in the chest. She hugged her daughter. She squeezed tight. I am happy because I have you. But you're not happy like you were before. I see it in the photos. You smiled differently. Maya didn't know what to answer, because Lily was right. Julian moved the king, desperately fleeing the pressure. Maya promoted the pawn. Queen. The new queen entered the board. Powerful, dominant, completely changing the balance of power. Sterling crossed his arms. He smiled, satisfied. It's over. And Maya knew it was. Not just the game. Something bigger had just ended too. 6 years of silence. 6 years of invisibility. 6 years of pretending not to be who she really was. She looked at Julian, then the board, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was home. Julian looked at the new queen on the board, then at his own pieces. King cornered, rook poorly positioned, isolated pawns. He had lost control 10 moves ago, but losing in front of major clients was unacceptable. "You're doing this on purpose," he said, accusatory. Maya looked up. Doing what? Playing the victim, the widow story. The so-called national master, you set this whole thing up. Sterling turned his head sharply. Julian, no, let me speak. Julian pointed a finger at Maya. You knew who I was. You knew I played chess. You waited for an opportunity. This is a con. The accusation hung in the air. The other guest looked at the floor, ashamed. Sterling scowled. Maya didn't move. I've been cleaning your office for 8 months. You have never looked me in the face. You never asked my name. How would I know anything about you? Everyone here knows I play chess. I have the board in the room. Half the executives have one. It's decoration. So it was a coincidence? Julian crossed his arms. You, an ex-professional player, working on my exact floor. I work on 7 floors of this building. I clean 12 offices a day. Yours is just one more. Sterling stood up. Julian, you're making a fool of yourself. I'm not doing anything. I'm just pointing out the obvious. She's trying to make me look stupid. You did that all by yourself, said Sterling, his voice cutting. You challenged her, in front of everyone, as a joke. Julian turned red. I didn't know she played professionally. And does that change anything? Sterling stepped forward. You would have humiliated her anyway. You just didn't expect her to be better than you. Look, listen. No, you listen. Sterling pointed at the board. You have a meeting with me on Monday. To discuss the contract renewal, 15 million. You're going to want to rethink the way you treat people. Silence fell, heavy as lead. Julian opened his mouth, closed it. His ears were burning. Maya moved the queen. She invaded the 7th rank. She threatened 2 pawns and the king simultaneously. Julian looked at the board, then he looked at her. People like you, he started, voice low, controlled, always have an excuse. Life was unfair. Destiny was cruel. But in the end, you end up where you deserve to be. Sterling took a step, but Maya raised her hand. A small gesture. Enough. She looked at Julian. She really looked at him. For the first time. You think I deserve to clean your toilet? I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You just said it. She tilted her head. I have 2 gold medals, 3 silver, 17 regional titles. I taught chess to over 200 kids. Some compete nationally to this day. I speak 7 languages of chess. I know 300 opening variations, and I can read 20 moves ahead if I need to. She stopped. She breathed. But you're right. I deserve to be here, cleaning, invisible, because women like me don't matter when the money runs out, when the husband dies, when life falls apart, we just disappear. Her voice wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was just the truth, raw, direct to the bone. The other guest cleared his throat. I'm going to get some water. He left the room. The door closed softly. Julian fidgeted with his shirt collar. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. Maya cut him off. You wanted to humiliate me. Use me as entertainment, because in your head, the cleaning lady isn't a person. She's just part of the scenery. That's not true. No, She gestured to the room broadly. How many times have you asked me how I was? How many times did you say good morning? I clean your desk every day, and you never, not once, looked at me. Julian didn't answer, because he had no answer. Sterling sat back down. He crossed his legs. Are you going to finish the game, or are you going to resign? Julian looked at the board. The position was hopelessly lost. Any beginner player would see that. He had 3 options: accept defeat with dignity, drag the game out and lose ugly, or quit. I have an engagement, he said, pushing his chair back abruptly. Is that a resignation? Asked Sterling. It's reality. So you're admitting you lost? Julian stood up. He adjusted his suit jacket. She played well. Congratulations. Maya said nothing. She simply watched as he walked away. But Sterling didn't let it slide. Julian. He stopped at the door. He turned. Monday, 9 a.m. at my office. Don't be late. Julian nodded and left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Sterling waited 10 seconds. Then he looked at Maya. Do you have a card? A card? Business card. A contact. I'm a janitor. We don't have business cards? Sterling pulled out his cell phone. Give me your number. Maya hesitated. Why? Because I invest in wasted talent, and you are the biggest waste I have ever seen in my life. She gave him the number. He saved it. He typed something. Then he put the phone away. Do you still play? He asked. With my daughter, sometimes. Is your rating still active? I have no idea. Sterling stood up. I'm going to find out, and when I find out, I'll call you. Nah, what for? You'll see. He walked to the door. He stopped. He turned. Maya, what he said, about ending up where you deserve. He shook his head with disgust. People like him always end up believing success is merit, that those at the bottom chose to be there. It's the lie they tell themselves so they can sleep at night. She didn't answer. She only listened. You don't deserve to clean floors. You deserve to be teaching, competing, being who you are. He opened the door. Wait for my call. And he left. Maya stood alone in the office. The board still set up on the table. Julian's king tipped over. She looked at the pieces, then at her own hands. The door opened again. Sarah, the secretary, entered with a file. She stopped when she saw Maya. You're still here? Maya started packing the pieces away quickly. I'm leaving. Sarah approached. She looked at the board. Did you win? Yes. Did he quit? More or less. Sarah crossed her arms. She remained silent for a moment. Then she said quietly, I saw you in a tournament, years ago, state championship. You were playing table 1, the finals. Maya stopped packing the pieces. She looked at her. I was an assistant arbiter, Sarah continued. I had just certified. You won that championship. I remember the final game, 53 moves, flawless technical victory. You remember that? I remember you, Maya Torres. Everyone said you were going to be a grandmaster one day. Sarah lowered her eyes. What happened? Life happened. Sarah nodded slowly. I stopped arbitrating too. Didn't pay the bills. She clutched the file to her chest. But at least I didn't forget you. Even when you started here as a cleaner. I recognized you. I just didn't know if you wanted to be recognized. Maya finished putting the pieces away. She closed the board. Thank you. For what? For remembering. Sarah smiled. A small gesture. Sad. Hard to forget someone who plays like you. She left. Maya stayed one more minute, alone, in silence. Then she grabbed her bucket of supplies and walked out too. But something had changed. She didn't know what yet. She just knew it was different. The phone rang on a Tuesday. Maya was in line at the grocery store in Queens. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Maya Torres? Yes. This is Robert Sterling. We met last Friday at the office. She switched the phone to her other ear. I remember. Your rating is still active, 22/7. You just need to reactivate your Federation membership. Maya gripped the shopping cart. Okay. I manage a talent investment fund, sports, arts, education. I want to talk to you about a proposal. What kind of proposal? Sponsorship for you to start competing again, and seed money for you to open your own academy. Her heart raced. Are you serious? Completely. Do you have time tomorrow? 2 p.m.? I work until 4, then 6 p.m. at my office. I'll send the address. He hung up. Maya stood frozen in the middle of the line, dazed. The woman behind her cleared her throat. Lady? She started walking again. She put the groceries on the belt, but she could barely focus. The next day, she asked to leave early from her second shift. She invented a doctor's appointment. The supervisor grumbled, but let her go. At 6 o'clock sharp, she was at the reception of Sterling's office, 18th floor. Panoramic view of the city skyline. Light wood furniture and modern design. A secretary received her kindly. He's expecting you. Sterling was on the phone when she entered. He motioned for her to sit. He finished the call and turned. You came. I came. He opened a file on the desk. I did some research. You have an impressive record. 2 international tournaments, 8 state opens, peak rating of 2289. You were 50 points away from being a FIDE master. That was 6 years ago. And you think you lost your skill? I don't know. I haven't played seriously in a very long time. Sterling leaned back in his chair. I watched the security tape of that game. Against Julian. The way you built pressure, how you simplified at the right moment. That doesn't disappear. It's muscle memory. Maya said nothing. She just listened. My proposal is simple, he continued. Sponsorship for 2 years. You go back to competing. You train. You get your rhythm back. In parallel, I help you structure an academy, location, marketing, equipment, everything. In exchange for what? 20% of the academy's profits for the first 5 years. And you represent my brand in competitions. Maya processed the information. Why would you do this? Because I believe in investing in wasted talent. And because people like Julian need to see they were wrong. She took a deep breath. I have a daughter, school, bills to pay. The sponsorship covers that. Monthly salary, enough for you to quit cleaning today. The words seemed unreal, like a dream. Quit cleaning, go back to chess, teach again. I need to think about it, she said. Of course, but don't take too long. The proposal has an expiration date. Maya walked out of the office, floating. In the elevator, she checked the time, 7:15. She still had time to pick up Lily from the neighbors. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor. She took 3 steps and stopped dead. Julian was at the reception. He was talking to someone. When he saw her, he interrupted the conversation and walked straight toward her. Maya. She didn't answer. She tried to step around him. He blocked her path. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do. About the meeting with Robert. She stopped. How do you know about that? I know everything that happens in my hallways. This isn't your hallway. Julian lowered his voice, conspiratorial. Look, I know he made you a proposal, and I came to warn you, don't accept. Why? Because Robert likes projects. He invests, he gets excited, and then he gets bored and walks away. You're going to quit your job. Bet everything on this, and in 6 months he'll disappear. Maya looked him straight in the eye. Or you're lying because you can't stand to see me rise. Julian laughed without humor, a bitter sound. You think I care about that? I do. I think you care a lot. She took a step forward, invading his space. Because people like you need people like me to stay in our place. Invisible, beneath you, so you can feel superior. That's ridiculous. Is it? She crossed her arms. How many years have you worked with Robert? 8. How many times has he abandoned a project? Julian remained silent. Exactly. Maya walked past him. And even if he abandons it, even if it fails, I will have tried. I will have gone back to being who I am. That is already worth it. She walked toward the revolving door. Julian called after her. You're going to regret it. Maya stopped. She turned slowly. You know what I regret the most? Letting people like you make me believe I was less, that I deserved less. that my place was at the bottom. She took a step back toward him, but that game reminded me of one thing. I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of, and I don't need your validation anymore, or anyone's validation. Her voice was firm as steel, no tremor, no doubt. Julian opened his mouth, no sound came out. And just so you know, Maya continued, I'm going to accept Mr. Sterling's proposal. I'm going to open my academy. I'm going to teach kids to play chess. And some of them are going to learn that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how much money you have. On the board, everyone starts equal. She turned again. This time, he didn't call her back. She crossed the lobby with a firm stride. She pushed the revolving door. The cold night air hit her face. On the way home, she called Sterling. I accept. Silence on the other end. Then, are you sure? Absolutely. Excellent. I'll prepare the contract. We sign next week. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. You don't have to thank me. You are doing me a favor. Investing in you is a safe bet. She hung up. She stopped on the sidewalk. She looked at the sky. The stars were hidden by the city's light pollution, but she knew they were there, shining. Lily was watching TV when Maya arrived. She jumped off the sofa. Mom, where were you? I had a meeting. What meeting? Maya knelt down. She got to her daughter's eye level. Lily, remember when you asked me why I stopped playing chess? I remember. And I told you it was because life changed? Lily nodded. So, life changed again. Maya smiled, a real radiant smile, the first in years. I'm going to start playing again. I'm going to open an academy, teach again. Lily's eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously? And the cleaning job? I'm quitting. Lily hugged her with surprising strength. I knew it. I knew you were going to come back to being you. Maya held her daughter tight against her chest. She felt tears burning her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were pure relief, rebirth. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For never letting me forget who I was. Lily pulled back. She looked her mother in the eyes. Can I challenge you to a game? Maya laughed, a clear sound. Now? Now. Okay, but I'm not going to go easy on you. I don't want you to. They set up the board, the same old pieces, the knight with the glued head. But this time, Maya didn't feel the weight of the world. She didn't feel the infinite fatigue. She felt like she was, finally, coming home. 3 months later, Maya handed in her notice. 2 weeks' notice. The supervisor didn't even look her in the eyes. Fine, we'll hire someone else. She cleaned Julian's office for the last time on a Thursday. He wasn't there. Better that way. She wiped down his desk. She arranged the chairs. She looked at the decorative chessboard one last time. Then she walked out and didn't look back. The academy was in a small but welcoming space. Ground floor of a commercial building in Queens, 400 square feet, 2 large windows, lots of natural light. Sterling had helped with everything. Fresh paint, sturdy tables, ergonomic chairs, 15 professional wooden boards, digital clocks, a powerful computer for analysis. On the main wall, she hung the medals, the ones she had kept in the box for 6 years, gold, silver, bronze. Each one told a story of struggle. The name on the door was simple and direct. Torres Chess Academy. David would have liked it. The first class had 5 students, 3 curious kids, 2 adults. Maya was nervous. Her palms were sweating, but when she started talking about the board, about the pieces, about strategy and tactics, everything came back, natural, fluid, like breathing. Chess isn't about attacking blindly, it's about control. Whoever controls the center controls the game. The kids watched her with absolute attention. They asked questions. She answered with infinite patience. Lily was at the back of the room, doing her homework, but watching everything with a smile. At the end of the class, an 8-year-old girl approached shyly. "You're really good," Maya smiled. "Thank you. Were you a champion?" "Yes, a few times." The girl's eyes shone with admiration. I want to be one too. Then you came to the right place. By the second week, she had 10 students. By the third, 15. Maya put an ad on social media. Sarah, the secretary who had recognized her, shared it. Other people too, former students, acquaintances from the old chess circuit. Maya Torres is back. She's giving lessons. In the first month, she had 22 regular students. In the second, 35. She had to hire help. An ex-competitor accepted to teach classes twice a week. Lily started helping too. She arranged the boards after classes. She answered the phone, and in her free time, she played against the beginner students. "Your daughter is good," a father commented, impressed. "She learned in the cradle. Is she going to compete?" Maya looked at Lily. The girl was explaining the bishop's movement to a younger student. Patient, gentle. When she's ready, if she wants to. In the third month, Maya went back to competing officially. State Open, open section. She was nervous. She hadn't played an official game in 6 years, but the body remembered the electric sensation, the pressure of the clock, the weight of the collective silence, the eyes of dozens of people observing every move. First round, she won in 32 moves. Second round, victory in 40 moves. Third round, she drew with an international master. Solid defense like a rock, balanced position, rook endgame. She held on. Sterling was in the audience. He smiled with pride when he saw the result. Lily was there too, with a handwritten sign in colored markers, "Go, Mom." Maya finished the tournament in 5th place, out of 60 high-level participants. She didn't win, but she proved something vital. To herself, to everyone who doubted, she still had it. The touch was still there. The academy grew exponentially. 6 months after opening, she had 50 fixed students. Maya had to lease the space next door. She expanded to 800 square feet, more tables, more boards, more space to dream. She started giving lessons to kids from low-income backgrounds too, 3 spots per class, free, full scholarship. "Chess can't just be for those who have money," she told Sterling. He agreed without hesitation. "Put it in the contract, we sponsor it." One of the scholarship students won a regional under-12 tournament. Maya was in the audience when the girl lifted the trophy. The little girl's eyes searched for her in the crowd. When they found her, the girl smiled. Big, bright. Maya felt her chest tighten, but it was a good tightness, of deep pride, of purpose fulfilled. On the 1-year anniversary of the academy, she organized an internal tournament. 32 participants, students and alumni, trophies for the top 3. Lily competed. She finished 7th. She was frustrated. "I played badly. You played well. You just made one error in the middle game." "But I lost." Maya knelt in front of her. "Lily, losing is part of the process. You learn much more from defeats than from victories." "Did you say that before?" "Your father said it, and he was right." Lily hugged her mother. "I want to be as good as you. You're going to be better." The name Maya Torres started circulating in the national chess scene again, not as a forgotten legend, but as a respected teacher, as an active competitor, as an example of resilience. At events, people greeted her with deference. "I heard about your academy. Congratulations. Good to see you back, Master. You were missed on the circuit." She smiled. She thanked them, but she didn't let it go to her head. She had learned the hard way that success is fragile, that life changes in an instant, that you have to value every day like it's the last. At night, after classes, she and Lily still played. The old pieces with the glued knight stayed stored away like a relic. Now they used a new set. Polished Staunton wood, weighted pieces with felt bases, but the ritual was the same sacred moment. Mother and daughter, board in the middle, comfortable silence. Lily was improving by leaps and bounds. She was already managing to win some games legitimately. Maya didn't let her win. She didn't need to. Lily deserved true victories, earned with sweat. "Mom," Lily said one night, breaking the silence, "are you happy now?" Maya looked at her daughter. She looked at the board. She looked at the room around her full of life. She looked at the existence they had rebuilt from the ashes. Yes, I am. Happier than before, Maya thought carefully. Different. But yes, more. Why? Because now I know I can lose everything and still find my way back. Lily smiled. She moved the knight decisively. Check. Maya looked at the board, surprised. Then she laughed. Very good. You're learning. 5 years passed in a flash. The Torres Academy now occupied an entire building, 3 floors, 12 classrooms, 120 regular students, 6 teachers on staff, 2 national masters, 3 candidate masters. Maya was on the 2nd floor when she heard the familiar noise. Children laughing, pieces falling on the table. She went down the stairs and found a group of beginners, kids between 6 and 8 years old. The teacher, one of her former students, was explaining the rook's movement. It walks straight, never diagonally, like a street. A girl raised her hand enthusiastically. And the bishop? Ah, the bishop is the opposite, always diagonally, like an X. Maya observed from the doorway. She didn't interrupt. She simply watched in wonder. This scene was everything she had dreamed of. Multiplying knowledge, passing on the torch that David had passed to her. Lily was a senior in high school now, 17 years old, rating of 2150. She was competing nationally with ferocity. The previous year she had won the National Girls U18 Championship. Maya was in the audience when Lily lifted the golden trophy. The same trophy she herself had lifted 20 years earlier. She didn't cry, but it was close. "Thank you, Mom," Lily said afterward, her voice cracking, "for never giving up. I did give up, for a while, but you came back. That's what matters." The academy had a robust social program now, 50 spots for kids from tough neighborhoods, transportation included, free equipment, nutritious snacks. Sterling had expanded the sponsorship considerably. "This here is a long-term investment, Maya. These kids are going to change the game." And they were changing it. 3 scholarship students were already competing at the state level with excellent results. One had won the under-14. Another had drawn with a master in a simul. On the reception wall, Maya hung framed photos. Students in tournaments, trophies won, moments of euphoric victory, moments of painful learning. In the center, an old black and white photo. Her and David in front of the First Academy. Smiling. Young. Full of plans that life had interrupted. "We made it," she whispered sometimes, looking at the photo. "Not the way we planned, but we made it." Sterling visited once a month. He brought business clients. He showed off the academy as the perfect example of responsible social investment. Look what happens when you bet on real talent, when you give a genuine opportunity. Maya gave interviews now, chess magazines, podcasts, local TV shows. She always told the full story without filters. The fall, the job as a cleaner, the game against Julian, the rebirth. "Do you regret anything?" an interviewer asked her once. "Taking so long to come back? But you needed to survive." "Yes. But I also needed to remember that surviving isn't the same thing as living." The phrase went viral on the internet. It was shared thousands of times. It became a motivational quote. Maya laughed when she saw it on Instagram. "I was just being honest." For the Academy's 5th anniversary, she organized a special gala tournament, alumni versus teachers, 50 participants, Sterling-sponsored cash prizes. The final was between Lily and Maya, mother versus daughter. The auditorium packed to the rafters. Absolute silence during the game. You could hear a pin drop. Lily had matured her game. She played with a veteran's patience now, with deep strategy, with vision. The game lasted 72 grueling moves, rook and pawn endgame. Maya had a slight positional advantage. Lily had a dangerous passed pawn. In the end, it was a draw, by repetition of moves. Neither of them wanted to risk unnecessarily and lose. When they finished, they hugged in the middle of the room under the applause. The ovation exploded, not because someone had won, but because both had played with sublime beauty. "You play like your father," said Maya in her daughter's ear. Lily smiled, eyes misty. "You too." That night, after everyone had left, Maya stayed alone in the darkened academy. She walked the quiet hallways. She touched the tables, the wooden boards, the chairs where dozens of kids had learned that chess was more than a game. It was life itself. It was vital strategy. It was understanding that every move, no matter how small, has an irreversible consequence. She stopped in front of David's photo. "Thank you," she said to the air, "for teaching me that resigning is just a bad move, not the whole game." On the wall next to it, there was a new frame, small and discreet, the piece that had delivered checkmate against Julian, the White Queen, framed under glass, with a brass plaque underneath. "Never underestimate who you don't know." Maya looked at that piece. Then she looked at the academy around her, everything she had built with her hands, everything she had recovered, everything she had become. She wasn't the invisible janitor on the 12th floor anymore. She wasn't the broken widow anymore. She wasn't the forgotten player anymore. She was Maya Torres, national master, teacher, mother, survivor. And most importantly, she was the living example that the game is never over as long as you can still move the pieces. Because in chess, just like in life, it doesn't matter how many times you lose. It matters how many times you have the courage to set up the board again and start over.